How are governments and businesses embracing tourism to boost economies, build resilience, and underscore soft power? We talked to a panel of experts at the Euronews Hub at Davos. Here's what they had to say.
It is my pleasure to address you today on diplomacy of the tourism, a subject that sits at the crossroads of economic growth, international cooperation, and long-term stability or sustainability. Our economy is very much dependent on mining, so that is why we are aiming to diversify our economy. That's why tourism is viewed as second sector of Mongolia. It is a strategic pillar of our economic diplomacy and long-term drive to inclusive economic growth. Mongolia is a country of rare scale of authenticity, vast untouched land, rich history, legacy of Genghis Khan. Mongolia is rising star of tourism. The growth is a result of deliberate policy choices, including visa facilitation, air transport liberalization, digital outreach, and cross-border tourism cooperation. Come to Mongolia. This is oasis or island of democracy in our region. Come to a land where tourism serves as diplomacy and investment builds lasting legacy. Thank you for your attention. Go Mongolia!
One of the things that makes your industry different is that there's still a positive story to tell to the world. How do you see the perspectives in 2026? Because it is a positive story, it is a positive industry, but it does not live in a silo. Obviously, the global context can have an impact. So how do you see the two coming together?
So jumping directly to your question, I will speak on a perspective of African country that, of course, feels the impact of all the situation going on in the world. And Africa has the most grown population in the world and the youngest one. So the main challenging that African countries face now is the challenging of the unemployment. Mm-hmm. So we are now focused on those kind of industries that are intensive in human resources, that can fight the unemployment that we see in our societies. So we need stability. We need the industries of peace. Tourism is one of them. As African countries, we are strongly committed on taking advantage of this demographic advantage for shifting our economies, for being those that are dependent on the extractive sector, like oil, diamonds, to go to the services economy with the creative industries, cultural, tourism, and there we can compete with the other countries. That's what I think. Thank you.
Ministers, so just very briefly, what's your pitch to European companies who want to take that on their word, who say, you know what, we want to bet on Africa, our governments are telling us we need to work with them. What do you offer them?
Yeah, and thank you for your question. I believe that foreign direct investments succeed not only when you have good business environment with the good opportunities, but when the companies goes there, starting a business with zero bureaucracy as well, as we have done in Angola. We have declared a war to bureaucracy in tourism. Yeah, it's a war declaration, so that's why we have received the award of best destination for investment in tourism last year with the global Tourism Forum.
From one of the top tier destinations in the world, known by everyone across the world, how do you see this 2026 playing out? And there's a very difficult global context. So where do you see challenges that can be addressed through partnerships?
I do feel that I'm a little bit the opposite of what Minister was just mentioning, you know, the youngest continent in the moment. It's like I sort of represent a little bit the opposite, but you know, with experience comes a legacy, comes a gravity that we need to bring forward. So in the setting the example, there's a lot of positivity as well. I am a firm believer that not only, I mean, tourism is the most positive industry in the world, but is also the most human. And Minister mentioned it correctly. I mean, if we want to generate jobs for the younger generations and we want to keep it human, definitely tourism is an absolute resource. There's nothing like it. Absolutely. There's no AI that's going to get in the middle, no chatbot that is going to substitute the human experience, the, you know, person-to-person exchange, building long-lasting memories. But, you know, we have a lot of things to do as well. I mean, who knew that Rome or the suburbs of Rome could become a #1 Congress destination in the world?
Which is a perfect segue now to Dr. Gopinath. I wonder for 2026, what kind of horizon do you look at? What are you expecting? And again, this question that we mentioned before, you don't live in your own bubble. There's a broader context, which is challenging. So is that going to have any impact? And if so, how do you mitigate?
I'm very optimistic. The meeting industry brings overall the knowledge, thought-provoking, the innovation, and also the future generation together. And we see that from 25 to 26, the growth is about 64%. There are 864 new meetings have been launched in the last 24 months only on the topic of AI. Now, when you start a meeting of that nature, it brings over 1,000 plus people. It brings economics together. It brings knowledge together. It brings academia together. It also brings innovation and creativity together. So there is huge opportunity across the world. I mean, we as ICA used to operate in about 70 plus countries 5 years ago. Now we've gone to 108 countries. So you can see the potential. Everybody wants to invest. Why? Because the business, the investment, you talk about any topic, medical science, healthcare, you need an audience coming together.
First of all, is it still possible to connect people, prevent perhaps conflict through the shared experience of tourism?
Oh, I think it's entirely possible. We've experienced that in Sri Lanka for ourselves, that the people-to-people connections that tourism enables is one of the main factors that has enriched our relationships and strengthened diplomacy throughout. So we are a prime example of how that works.
Well, thank you, Prime Minister. And now also joining us on the panel, we have Kuban Omiraliyev. He is the Secretary General of the Organization of the Turkic States. Sir, how do you see this new scenario playing out? Because a lot of things are changing.
Yeah, thank you very much. Tourism is main part of economy now, not only in our countries, as just before Mongolian Prime Minister mentioned, Her Excellency now is mentioned, or in our African friends mentioned. Everywhere is tourism becoming is important. Is not only bring people together, as just you mentioned, is changing political, not only daily, hourly changing now, but tourism will be to really soft power and really to people tie is our main priority in our organization.
And I want to ask you just to very quickly follow up to what you said. There are some countries, potential visitors, who are only now coming to know you. How do you pitch that?
Our geography is stretching from Anatolia to Central Asia, from Caspian to Altai. It's really big area, 4.5 million square kilometers. Our territorially, we are in top 5. So if someone guest coming, they providing them everything. We call hoş geldiniz. We say only first, after say hello, we say welcome. So this is, also in the part of tradition.
Well, thank you for that. And also joining us is Mishhari Al-Nahari. He is the CEO of the Asir Investment Company. And it seems there's been a big push from the kingdom, especially in the past 5 years, to really open up and tell a narrative to say there's many good destinations in the Gulf, and Saudi is equally as competitive as other neighbors. So what's the outlook, would you say?
The world is evolving. The Gulf is evolving. We're trying to build a story around tourism. So the birth of this company is called Asir Investment Company. Asir, by the way, is a region in Saudi Arabia. In the topography, it has 4 different topographies. It has the mountains, it has the wadis, it has the coast, and it has the plateau. So we're trying to build a year-round destination around this region. People no longer travel to try a specific asset or to taste a specific food. They travel for an experience. What can we provide to those people? How we can build those experiences? The experiences needs to be built based on a partnership spirit with partners, with locals, with the community, from the people to the people. So people travel to see each other, to get to know each other, and to experience each other's culture.
And just Prime Ministers, I know you have to go. Just a final question. Of course, it's Davos, so we have to talk about business too. For an investor, for foreign money, what can they expect?
Well, we are looking to build that infrastructure, the infrastructure that is welcoming towards investors, one that's transparent, accountable. But I must say that we're looking for investors who are interested in long-term and fits in with our overall economic and development vision for a more inclusive, climate-friendly country. And that's the kind of investment we look for even within in the tourism sector.
So the Vice President of the Republic of Suriname, of course, thank you very much for being with us. In this very competitive market that is tourism, in which everyone obviously tries to make the best case for your country, what is the case or the pitch that you make to anyone who wants to visit? What can they expect?
I must say that Suriname is going through some exciting times. And the nice thing about Suriname is that we have been able, over the last 100 years, that we are living very nicely together. Suriname, as far as the different populations is concerned, but also the religions, live nicely together. And it's the only place, I think, on earth where you will find a synagogue next to a mosque sitting together, and the people looking after each other. We also have, I think, very interesting as far as tourism is concerned. People must recognize that Suriname is one of the 3 only countries in the world that are carbon negative.
Well, thank you very much. And of course, we continue now our panel. Please allow me to introduce Randy Durbin. He is the CEO of the Global Sustainable Tourism Alliance. Christopher Kisling, he is the president of the Loro Parque Foundation. I've got to say, I've been to them many times in the past. And Nicole Monge, she is senior director at APCO. Of course, I'm sure it does not escape to you, however, that the global conversation around sustainability has really changed, and some argue it's not really at the forefront anymore. So what is the impact in your different perspectives? And is that still the case? Is it still relevant, or actually it's hard to pitch it now as a premium element in a package? We can start with you, sir.
Thank you. I believe it's our responsibility. We are an educational center, so we're inspiring lots of young children. So when they come to the park and when they meet the animals, live animals, in a controlled environment, not impacting, which is the natural habitats, then they get this inspiration, which in the future will cause a more sustainable world, which we need nowadays.
And on that note, perhaps for you, Mr. Durbin, is the sustainable conversation still relevant when it comes to the specific sector of tourism and gathering convenient people?
I think it's more relevant today than ever, and I would push back on whether it was ever niche or going away. All generations, young generations, are very angry at the world they're inheriting, and we're seeing now in satisfaction data on travel and tourism that the traveler wants it. So I push back on 2 levels. The capital markets want sustainability, and I would argue the travelers want it. I think there's so many misconceptions.
Is it perhaps wrong the way that sustainability is measured? Is there perhaps an issue in the way that we use the metrics or the data that's used, because some look at sustainability as something that's really a pain. You know, it's you travel, oh, I'm such a horrible human being, I got on a plane.
I think it's linking it to these other kind of these other benefits. I truly do think linking it to the economic benefit is important. And I also think there's a piece of it around making people part of the solution as well, and not just creating a narrative where they're a problem. So it's also a way to sort of shift and change that narrative and how they talk about it. But that's just one way.
That's all we have time for. You can watch the full conversation on Euronews.com. Thanks for watching.